I never expect any business to have 100% 5 stars across the board. They might, but it's not a bad thing to see that there was an unhappy occurrence in there. Thank you, everyone, for joining us on another episode of The Pursuit of Purpose. Today, we are doing another episode on our mini-series about online reviews, in particular Google reviews. Today, I'm joined by Adam Kirk, who is a strategic thinker and creative problem solver that loves working with other creatives to help them reach their potential. He has a keen eye for detail and thrives when working on projects that require both left and right brain thinking. Adam is the founder of Ustas. They specialize in website design, search engine optimization, and social media marketing for small business owners. He's passionate about helping his team members grow in their roles and providing them with opportunities to shine. In his free time, you can find him spending time with his family, hiking, or trying some new recipes. Well, thank you so much, Adam, for coming on today.
Thanks, Chris. Yeah, it's good to be here.
Before we get into the SEO stuff, tell me, so you got a family and you like hiking. I like both of those things. I've got a family.
Sweet.
Tell me, where do you hail from, and where do you like to go hiking?
So I grew up in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. It's kind of south central Pennsylvania. So we've got a ton of amazing hiking trails around here. I did a lot of hiking in high school and stuff, and then we were out of the area for a little bit. But coming back, there's so many. The whole Appalachian Trail runs straight through where we're at. So a lot of good hiking trails.
Yeah. Are you familiar with? There's two things that I know about Lancaster, Pennsylvania. First is Two Dudes Painting. You know them?
Yep. Yeah. So how do you know that?
Two Dudes Painting is a client of ours.
No way.
And they're also a member of the National Summit Consulting, or it's Nolan Consulting that has a summit group. Do you work with Two Dudes at all, or you just know who their brand or their business?
I just know who they are. I mean, you see them around, but yeah.
Yeah, so that's one thing. And then the other random thing I know is there's this very niche expert speaker on this topic called Theology of the Body, Christopher West, who grew up in Lancaster and now he lives in Quarryville, who's he's a little bit outside of, I can't remember which direction it is, but we've gone to, my wife and I have gone to a couple courses that were led by Christopher in Quarryville, Pennsylvania. So anyways, those are my two connections to Lancaster area. But that's where you grew up.
Yeah, and that's where we're at right now. I mean, we're in the Lancaster County area. Most people think of Amish when they think of Lancaster because there's a lot of Amish around here. But
I do remember that. Yeah, cool. Driving down the road and you're just caught behind a buggy or something. But yeah.
Oh my gosh.
That's funny. Well, cool. So let's jump into the topic of Google reviews. For small businesses in particular, how do Google reviews impact the local search, like 3-pack? If someone was just, because that's what I feel like most businesses that we talk to, they're very concerned with how is this going to affect my ranking? And in particular, that little 3-pack of businesses that show up above everybody else in search results.
Yeah, it definitely does impact it. I mean, we've known that for a while. And even just before coming on this, we were researching some new stats and everything. You might have run across these already, but SEMrush, a high-level SEO software that we use, they did a survey not long ago and found that, I think it was, I have it here, 5,624 businesses that they researched found that when they were in the map pack, they had a 4.1 or higher star rating. And the interesting thing out of that I found too was that when they looked at the businesses in the number one position in that map pack, they always had more positive reviews than businesses in the second or third position in the map pack. So
it's quantity, you're saying?
Yeah. Quantity, and we're going to look at later quality for sure. But yeah.
Yeah, okay. And that's the other thing is that from my experience, because I've been in the marketing space for 9 or 10 years now, and tell me if you agree with this, but nobody really knows exactly how reviews, or to the degree that reviews do. But the
Yeah.
general consensus that I've gotten talking to people is that Google reviews have had an impact on search ranking for a while, but in, say, the
Mhm.
last 2 or 3 years, Google has at least stated that they have a greater significance, but again, still unknown what that actually means in the grand scheme of all the factors. Is that correct?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's like Google's the big white elephant out there, the big thing out there that's controlling all of this, and they're never going to fully disclose like how things totally work. So that's why when you research a topic like this, all you're doing is researching. People have done studies on this, and people have researched this and talked to experts, and it's all this speculation about like, well, we see this happening, so we're assuming that Google like uh, puts these certain things in order. Um, I found this other stat which was interesting to share. I like statistics, obviously,
Mm.
but Whitespark, another big SEO company out there, they found that on the study that they did, they found that. Let me read this so I get it right. Reviews account for 17% of the share of how Google ranks things in the map pack. So basically, if
Mm.
Google's looking at a business saying how are we going to rank them in the map pack,
And there's
reviews account
hundreds
for
of factors.
17%.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
And
And
17% of the total weight goes to reviews.
yes, yeah.
Yeah. That's, I mean, I
Where
believe that.
in yeah. To contrast that though, 5% is what affects Google's like organic results. So Google's only putting 5% weight on organic results, but 17% weight in the map pack. So all that to
Uh,
say in layman's terms, reviews definitely do affect a business's listings in the map pack for sure.
and so I'll do some rounding, but to simplify things, that's saying that, like, if you were to categorize 5 things, the top 5 things to do to focus on Google ranking, we're saying that
Yep.
1/5 is reviews that's affecting that about.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, that's
Definitely.
crazy.
So
Um,
if you're going to focus on 5 things, focus on reviews being one of them.
Yeah. What are do you? I don't know if you have any. I love statistics as well. So if you got more of those, I'll love. I mean, you could just run through a list of some interesting ones. Or the other thing that I'll go with is, what's like? Do you have one, two, three? Like, here's some things that I always feel like I'm going over with clients. And you can hit both of them if you got both, or jump on one of those.
Yeah. I'll throw another stat in before I jump on the other thing, but just in regard to how reviews affect map packs, again, it was Whitespark, this big SEO company out there. They did another thing, and they basically said that they interviewed 42 different SEO experts out there in the industry, and they're like, okay, how break it down? Like, what is important about these Google reviews, and how and their effects on this map pack? The five, or I think it was 6 things, sorry, that they came up with: a high star rating. So that's kind of obvious. You're not going to get into this map pack if you have like a 2.5 average rating. So you got to have four or higher. You have to have positive reviews, like not just the star ranking, but like that people are actually responding and writing positive things about your business in the comments of those. The other thing was the quantity. So if you have 1 or 2 Google reviews and another similar of your competitors has like 25 or 50 or something like that, obviously they're going to have a little bit more weight there because they have more. So the quantity of them, the recency of them, like how new are these reviews? Like
Mm.
if your business is out there and you've got 20 reviews, but they're all from like 6 years ago, and your competitors out there, they've got one from a month ago, one from 2 months ago, that that carries some weight in there as well. Um, Another big thing is the business owner responding to all of those reviews.
Ooh,
Um,
got it.
that's critical. Like respond to all reviews. And the last thing that they found was just the quality of the overall reviews that people are actually in there. They're responding. They're writing things. They're not just giving the 5-star review, but they're actually writing positive sentiments about that. So those are some really key things to keep in mind.
I like the R that you said on the responding. That jumped out to me because in the talk that I gave in December, I boiled down. I didn't know about this White Spark article, so there's definitely some overlap. But I boiled it down to 4 R's, which
Hmm.
was rating, relevancy. So the keywords in it, and then what the person's searching. So rating, relevancy, recency, which you said, and you also said rating, and then the last one was radius. I was just looking for another R, but
Yeah.
proximity, both for the person leaving the review to your business, but also I think there's reasonable evidence to believe that Google knows, like, if you left a review, let's use Lancaster. If I'm a customer and I live in Coreyville and Google knows where I'm at because of my phone, and I leave a
Hmm.
review for a painting company, and there's another person in Coreyville at some later date that is searching for painting, and their Google knows that a positive experience originated from a proximity to this new now searcher, there has to be that as well. But to me, radius doesn't necessarily only mean that, but it's also like the proximity to your business. If you've got reviews coming in from California, but you're a painting company, Google has to know that there's
Yeah.
something fishy about that and exclude those. So to me, radius kind of encompasses all of that. But I like that you added in the responding thing as well, because that's another, is the business engaging and reciprocating or giving feedback, good or bad, to customers that are leaving reviews. I think that's a nice.
Yeah.
So maybe we now have the 5 R's, and that
Yep.
sixth bullet
There you
point
go.
of what was it? I can't remember what the sixth one was. We'll have to figure out if there's an R for that or not, and
Yeah.
throw that in there as well.
Yeah. The responding thing, that's actually one of the things that Google itself tells you to do. Like, so coming directly from Google, they're saying, hey, if you want this to work for you well, respond to all these reviews. And so we always tell people, again, even if you have like a negative review, if somebody's like not happy with what you've done or something like that, still respond, still take care of it online, things like that. That way people see, like you said, Chris, you're engaged, like you're strong in a business to respond to negative feedback and things like that. So always respond.
Yeah. Have you? So, what are? I want to come back to the responding thing. I'm making a note here, but jumping into, like, what are the most common things you feel you find yourself commonly telling business owners, or maybe it's misunderstandings or a misalignment of priority of where they're focusing, or just the aspects of reviews that you're coaching your clients on. What are, like, the
Mhm.
top points that you frequently come back to?
We always tell a lot of one of the big questions that we always get asked is, what do you do with a negative review? So we always tell people, like, the best thing to do with a negative review is still respond to it. Like, we've seen a lot of good responses when people try and, in a good manner, they're comical in their response to a negative review. Like treat it seriously and respond, but also if you can throw in a little bit of humor there, that's always good. But always respond to it. The next thing is, people always ask, like, if I've only got 5 reviews and one of them's negative, what do I do? Can I remove it? Like, yeah, you can try, but it's going to take months if you ever get there. The best thing to do if you get a negative Google review is just focus on getting more positive reviews. So if you have a
Mm,
total of 5 reviews and one of them is negative, yeah, that really hurts you. But if you have 50 reviews and one of them is negative, nobody's going to care.
mm,
So if you have a negative thing, just focus on getting as many positive reviews as you can.
yeah, no, I love that.
Yeah.
The one of the I want to This literally just happened a couple of days ago. I'm going to try and share my screen here to emphasize
Hmm.
this. And this is just a friend of mine. He owns a construction company in town here in Coeur d'Alene, where we're at. And he reached out to me and was just like, "Hey, Chris, I know he doesn't necessarily know exactly the business that I'm in, but he knew that it was related to or revolving around reviews." And so he just said, "Hey, I had this customer reach out, or not reach out. I had a customer leave a negative review. What can I do? What would you recommend that I do about this?" So I'm not going to read the entire thing because it's a little long, but maybe for those of you that are looking at the video, I'm going to summarize the bullet points here. But essentially, this Jordan, he has his company in the wintertime when work slows down. They do this great job of custom Christmas light installation. So it's like, exactly the lengths of all your eaves and everything, and they're all 6 inches apart or whatever. But the work they do is amazing. And this person left a negative review for them. She was a client last year, and then they came back out. And now, again, keep in mind, everything's already pre-measured for your house, so it's definitely faster in year two. But Jordan tells customers, we will do it for the first year, and then we'll come back and do it again the next year if you want us to, for about 55% of the cost of year one. So it's just
Sweet.
labor in year two. But if the homeowner wants to, they're more than welcome to just do it themselves because they now own these lights. So you're literally just paying for labor in the second year. But this person in my summary, she basically is upset that they were like too quick or too efficient with hanging up her lights, you know? So she's thinking that they're like overcharging. And Jordan was like, you know, he has, I mean, if you look at his profile, he's got fantastic reviews, and the Christmas lights thing, that's like not even really a money making thing. It's just like a little service that he's offering to past customers
Hmm.
and other people. So he's just trying to like keep his guys busy and stuff and doing a phenomenal job of this. And then you have someone that's basically like, they did this in 20 minutes, which he told me was, you know, it was a little more than that if you consider like getting ready and pulling all the stuff out. You know, they're there for like an hour or whatever, but they had three
Hmm.
guys there. And she's basically, in my summary, she's upset that they were too efficient, or like the cost per hour in her mind wasn't adding up. So
Oh no.
what he ended up doing was he wrote this really long review or response that just like
Yep.
acknowledges that they didn't have a great experience. But then he also included, like, because she was referencing like parts of the contract, and so he
Yep.
made a note to like put in the other parts of the contract that she left out, which is like, if you would like us to do it, this is the cost. So he
Yep.
made sure that it was known to anyone else that reads this. This is like the story from his perspective. And the main thing, I'm curious if you would agree with this, but what I told Jordan is that if I'm a customer, first of all, the thing to keep in mind is that we all go to profiles, and the first thing that we do is go lowest rated, because you always want to see how is this business when it was at its worst. And
Yep.
so every person that ever works with him in the future is going to read Suzanne's review, and
Hmm.
then the next thing that they're going to read every time is, what did the business say about that? So to
Exactly.
me, I look at negative reviews are actually like this prime opportunity for, as a
Yeah.
business, for you to show your professionalism and how you respond to
Yep.
difficulty. Right? We all have
Yeah.
situations where things don't go as planned, or maybe they go exactly as planned, but there is a confusion or frustration on the side of the customer. And to me, again, if you read deep into this, it's in my opinion, the customer is upset because of thinking that they were too quick or they charged a lot for the amount of time. But again, it's just like, as a homeowner, I know that it's a pain in the butt to go up on the roof. I don't want to have to hang these lights, and it's like, you know. Anyway, so I feel like this is actually going to help weed out other non-ideal customers for him in the future.
Yeah.
And it will also attract the customers that appreciate the way that he has thoroughness in his response and his contracts and everything. So anyways, I just think this is a really specific example of how you respond. And then the next piece, like you said, is you got to move on and start getting
Yeah.
more reviews from other people, because
Yep.
you can't get caught up on this one.
Yeah. That's he responded phenomenally to that. And if you could see on the video, he had 20 reviews and had a 4.8 rating because they were all five except the one. That's great. Like nobody cares about 4.8. That's, you look at that, you're like 4.8, he's got 20 reviews. Great business. So
Yeah.
that,
And if
yeah, that's a
anything,
phenomenal example.
would you agree that also, as a consumer, I've heard this, I don't, there's, you may even have a statistic on this, but if someone has 25-star reviews and no negative reviews, they're still kind of in the realm of, it's conceivable that they just ask their family and friends in town to leave them reviews. And it's a little odd that they don't have any negative, because I feel like, I mean, I'm not saying that you want to have a negative review early on, but I feel like
Hmm.
it's actually a good thing from a believability or credibility standpoint, that I never expect any business to have 100% 5 stars across the board. They might, but it's not a bad thing to see that there was an unhappy occurrence in there.
Yeah.
Because I mean, like, anytime I go out anywhere, to the grocery store, to a restaurant, I feel like I see and encounter grumpy, you know, the Krabby Patties or whatever of the world, and it's like they're everywhere. And so
Yeah.
if you haven't encountered one, have you not been in business long enough to have this happen to you? You know, that's at least how my
Yeah.
mind
Yeah.
works.
Yeah, it's true. That ties back into like the whole authority of of the reviews. Like if you're a brand new business and you all of a sudden in one day 24-hour period you got 10 reviews and they've all from people with the same last name and all they did was give a 5-star, that's sketchy. But if you've been in business for a little bit and you've got reviews scattered from year 1, year 2, year 3, they're from a multitude of different people, they might still all be positive reviews, but you
Mm,
can see there's some history, there's some legitimacy to that. Even though they're all good, you can tell they're not fishy. So
yeah,
yeah, it's
totally.
good. Yeah.
What's your thoughts on reviews replacing, say, like, how do you balance or incorporate, I guess I should say, reviews into the SEO strategy of a business? And would
That's a
you
good question.
prioritize it above or below? And I'm SEO, I feel like, is a dangerous just blanket statement because it encompasses
Yeah.
so much. But break down, like, when someone says I want to work on my SEO, I'm curious, as a good agency owner, where would you kind of go, like, evaluating their reviews, their website, their content strategy, everything, and where would you put
Mm,
in, like, the need to actually start creating more content in blog or
mhm.
video form in relation to focusing or solving the problem of just consistent reviews?
That's a very good question. That's a loaded question.
Yeah.
um, so I think that can tie back into that one statistic we shared in the beginning where Google, again, this is not a hard fact, this is based on research, but Google prioritizes reviews with a 5% weight when they're looking at like which businesses to place in the organic. Now, this is outside of the map pack. In the organic search results, 5% of what Google's looking at is your reviews. So they do matter, but from an SEO agency's perspective, we would definitely look at that, and that is a service that we offer to our clients. We do all that kind of stuff similar to you guys, which is phenomenal. But we would generally prioritize things like content and on-page optimization. If we had to pick, we would prioritize those things first. But again, there's also the importance of taking a holistic approach to SEO and saying, listen, if you've got your website already optimized and you've got decent content on there, but you've got 3 negative reviews out of 5, then let's really push a focus on that and really get those reviews out of the way, because that's from a user's point of view too. No one's going to want to do business with a business that has a ton of negative reviews. So
Mm.
yeah.
Yeah, I think so. You would say there's like a bar, so to speak, of, like, if you're not passing with this bar or this level,
Yeah.
which I don't know if this is, again, I'm not trying to pin down, I'm just trying to set, like, guidelines for someone to think about. But it sounds like if you're, would you say, like, below a 4.23 or something like that, that maybe you put a little more emphasis on that. But if you're above that, you are at least in a good enough place to justify exerting energy on other SEO best practices in the grand scheme of your marketing. Is that safe to say?
Yeah, that is a good safe to say. I think generally, if you have a 3 something in your Google reviews, that's generally seen as like, okay, you're walking the line there. So anything below a 4 is always you want to definitely take notice of that. Um,
Yeah.
but from like the 30,000 foot view on SEO, like we tell people, Google looks at over 200 different things when they're deciding how to rank your website with your competitor's website. They're looking at 200 different things, um, like content on your website, the technical on what's called on page optimization, the technical side of your website. Those things carry a lot of weight, where Google reviews, they do carry weight, but they're probably down farther in the priority list.
Mm.
But still something, definitely something worth taking action on.
So one thing I'm curious, this is going to be another, maybe you could consider this a loaded question, but one thing that I've struggled with is, so say a lot of the clients that work with us are painting, they're home service companies. So painting,
Mhm.
concrete coatings is very common. Um, but it's, and we're trying to get into, like, electrical, HVAC, other things like that. But our
Yeah.
niche is like the businesses that you're going to get to know customers, or you're going to be entering into their, like, personal space, right?
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
inviting a contractor into my house, so it's like maybe a step up from, like, a siding contractor, which still they're on your property, But when you have someone like literally inside your house painting your kids' bedrooms or whatever, like there's a different level of like, okay, who's coming in here versus just like, I need someone to build a house for me, and then the house gets completed and they leave and then I move in. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
there's a different level of like trust, I think, that is kind of this open opportunity for a business to focus on, first of all, the way they run their business in general. Because I always tell people, if you're so concerned about negative reviews, that could be an indication that, and this is an ugly truth that they have to face, but
Yeah.
maybe your business is not run super well, or
Yeah.
you're hiring questionable people that you wouldn't feel comfortable with, or you don't trust what your
Yep.
employees are going to say to customers. It's like, it's not an easy problem to fix, but it might be the reality that that's why there's such a concern there. If you trust your employees and you trained them well, like, you got to let them go out there and interact, and then own the fact
Yeah.
that you're going to get honest feedback from your customers, and hopefully it's great feedback,
Hmm.
um, but the problem, or the thing that I've struggled with, let's say this concrete coatings companies, for example, they're oftentimes started by like a husband and wife, or very small group of like two friends that start a business together. And they generally are doing, like, in their first year, they'll do like 500,000, maybe a million. If they're really well versed in business, they might get to a million in revenue. But there's a sweet spot that's right around $2 million in revenue, that these business owners they're still very involved in the business, but they don't have plans to like scale it to like a massive, like, 6 to 10 crews. They're still it's a niche thing. And so the reason I'm painting that picture first is that, in my mind, and this could be head trash, investing a ton of energy in like blog content or videos or whatever is a waste of energy if you don't have plans to actually scale this into something that's more expansive. Just because, and again, I'm just telling you what I have heard. I would not say I'm an SEO expert necessarily. I just try to think about things from like an optimization engineering perspective. But if
Hmm.
I'm just a local business, if I'm going to make a blog, that blog has to be good enough to compete with the other blogs that answer that question from all over the country, especially if
Hmm.
it's not like relevant to my town. But if it's a blog that's like, what's the best concrete coating to put on my garage floor, I have to actually make a blog that's worthy of
Yeah.
competing with the top ranking articles that are already on that subject. And that takes time, it takes strategy, it takes research. You have video, there's graphics, there's photos. And if you look
Yeah.
at the blogs that are out there that are ranking for that topic, it's not a like, oh, let's just pay somebody $100 to write me a blog every month, because these
Not at
things
all.
can take hundreds or thousands of dollars to create, if you think about all the work involved to actually create a really great solid piece of content. And that's
Hmm.
where I feel like uh, I've had a bad experience with, and this is when I used to work for Webfoot Painting, which was a home service company. And so I ran the marketing department, and I got to see firsthand the amount of effort and energy that our internal team was putting into making these great blogs. All
Hmm.
that to say, when I come across agencies that charge for SEO services and they're charging a low dollar amount, that's generally a huge red flag, that it is like, I just don't think that they're actually producing real value for your business, because they can't be.
Hmm.
Does that make sense? Do you see
Yeah.
where I'm going with that?
Yeah. Yep.
Anything to add on that?
That's a very, very good point. SEO done well takes a lot of time and effort for sure. Um, One thought, just to sidebar off of that, like you mentioned blogs a lot, and blogs have an incredible power in search engine optimization when done well. Like you said, blogs typically answer a question that people are asking, which is like what you said, like what is the best blah blah blah, fill in the blank. And blogs are a good thing for answering those questions that people go into Google and ask. Another option outside of blogs that can be a more, I'm not going to say more effective, but like a simpler way to get results is through landing pages, where blogs are answering questions. Landing pages are providing a service. So break it down a little bit. Like say painting, for example, for us, we're in Lancaster County, and say someone goes to Google and types in, what's the best paint to use? That's a question that should be answered by a blog post. Where if someone goes into Google and says like local painter in Lancaster or something like that, they don't want a blog article about the 10 different kinds of paint you can use. They want to find the local painter that can do that.
Mm,
So we always say, like, if you want to provide resources and answer questions, do blog posts. If you want to get found for the services that you offer when people are ready to hire you, do landing pages, because those will say, hey, here's the local thing, here's jobs that we've done in XYZ city, here's reviews that we've got from people in XYZ city, here's our
mm,
contact information, give us a call. So it's two different types of content. Blog posts done well do take a lot of time and effort. Landing pages don't take as much time and effort and typically get a different kind.
I like that differentiation. So, do you have? Can you repeat those? What are the things that you feel are critical to include on a landing page?
A landing
And I don't
page
know if
should
it's you don't have
have,
to be
like,
full encompassing, but you mentioned a couple things. I just
yeah,
want to highlight those.
you always have to have social credibility, which is through the forms of like reviews is great. I mean, if you can go all out and do like a testimonial video or something like that, that's also great. You need to be specific to the location. For example, us in Lancaster, the URL should be like painters in Lancaster, the H1 up at the top. This is getting a little bit technical, but
Mm-hmm.
the technical side of the website should have like the keyword that you're focusing on up in the top. You should mention the city throughout the content. If you can have pictures of jobs that you've done in that
Mm,
specific area, the page itself needs to be about the services that you do, but also about the location that you're targeting. And
okay.
also a very clear call to action throughout the page saying, hey, give us a call or fill out this form or something like that.
Gotcha. And then, so next question on that would be, would you, or in what cases would you take a landing page and actually have that be the link on your Google business profile? Does that make sense? Like, would
Yeah.
you ever have I guess it depends how many different services your business offers potentially, but,
Yeah.
yeah, how would you, or would you just let that be a kind of a free floating or like a page that's on your site, but it's
Yeah.
targeting a specific geo area, but not necessarily the link that's going to send people from your Google business profile to that?
Yeah. Google Business Profile should probably just most times it should just be your homepage, but then those landing pages are just additional pages on your website so that and you can target different areas. Like for us, I'm not going to go into all the examples for the sake of time, but we've done like a pottery studio where they
Mm,
had one in the city, but we did landing pages for them for four other different cities that were in a 45-mile radius because people drive
mm,
45 minutes to go to the studio. Um, and so you can target a specific city through that. It's just an additional page on your website with the keyword that and the service that you're offering, targeting that specific geographical area. And then when someone is in that area typing pottery studio or whatever it is, local painter, Google says, hey, this is about the business is in this area. Here's a good search result.
mm. Gotcha.
So
I
yeah.
like that. Any other things that you feel are important in the topic of Google reviews? Just like high level or stuff that you came into this call thinking you were going to talk about that you want to make sure you mention?
Yeah. Again, I like stats. So there's always a good stat out there. Like 93% of people read reviews before they make a purchase. So that just speaks to the necessity of having good Google reviews out there. Like if people are going to interact with your business and hire you to do whatever it is that you do, you got to have good reviews out there because 93% of the people are looking at that before they reach out to you. Um,
Awesome.
yeah.
Um, well, Adam, thanks so much for taking the time to do this. Really appreciate it. If someone wants to get in touch with you or has further questions for you, how would you recommend that they best do that?
They could visit our website. It's oostas.com. I'll spell it. It's OOSTAS.com. Like Chris said in the beginning, we're a digital marketing agency for small businesses and do all the stuff that you need.
And I have to know what does Ustas mean? Where does that come from?
That's a very good question. I lived overseas for a number of years in the country of Turkey with my family. And long story very short, we came back suddenly to the US 5 or 6 years, probably 6 years ago now. And the word ustas comes from a Turkish word that means master craftsman. And as I started the business, we were looking for a unique name. And we serve, like I said, we serve small businesses who are the master of their craft. And so we're like, hey, let's tie these two things together. So
I love it.
It means master craftsman. We're serving master craftsmen.
That's awesome. Well, thanks so much, Adam. Appreciate your time, and hopefully the rest of you all got value, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you, Chris. Take care.
Thank you for your attention and listening to this episode of The Pursuit of Purpose. Your feedback and comments mean the world to me. If you liked what you heard, please take a second, leave me a 5-star review on iTunes. If you've got suggestions for future episodes or just want to say hi, shoot me an email at chris@chriskiefer.com. Don't forget, I make it a point to include all the links to the books, movies, and resources mentioned on this episode in the show notes. You can see those directly below in the description or on my website, chriskiefer.com. Thanks so much, guys.